Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbookingncraft. How you all going today? So today we've got an art journal page showcasing one of our new stencils for our December 2023 release and a couple of our older white mixed media die cuts. So this is in my altered book. So the page is about approximately A4 size, or a little bit bigger, landscape wise. So this book originally started as a use it up journal. If I had extra paint, if I had extra papers, I really liked this wrapping paper, so I decided to stick it all over the page, and it sat there for a while and then I thought, okay, today's the day I will turn it into a page. So just adding some washi tape down the bottom. I have a girl with words, one of our large girl with words cut out to use on the page, and the washi tape is sort of her grounding to ground her to the bottom of the page. On a mission to use up my washi tape this year, next year, 2025, may have a little bit of washi tape, and those rolls are never ending as well. So just marking with a bit of pencil where the girl is going, because I wanted to put sort of a halo of colour behind her to make her stand out more, because if I stuck her on the busy background, she gets a bit lost. So just putting a messy sort of pink halo around the edge of the page, around the edge of where the girl will be. So I've offset her to the right hand side of the fold. A little bit of a hand goes into the fold of the book. Usually I don't put things in the fold of the book, but I thought a little bit wouldn't matter. Then I decided the page needed a border because too much of that wrapping paper was showing. I shouldn't have probably stuck it all over the page, but it sounded good at the time, a couple of years ago when I originally stuck it down. But I love the end result of the page. So going around with a haphazard border, coming in a bit further, some places going out a little bit on others, so it's not square, sort of creating a haze effect. I love doing this to my art journal pages lately, this sort of border where it's not straight and square, but it is sort of framing the page. Then this is one of our new stencils for December 2023 in our almost 6 by 6 inch size. I think these are slightly smaller. So I decided to do the reverse stenciling technique, which is basically when you put paint directly on your page, lay your stencil on top, and take a baby wipe and rub the paint off through the stencil. So I decided that the colour I picked wasn't as contrasty as it should be. When you're doing this technique, it works better when you're using high contrast colours, so black on white, or dark on light, or light on dark. If the colours are too tonally close, it won't work as well because it will be quite subtle. So I added some purple to the border as well, but leaving some of the pink showing, so the purple didn't cover up the complete lot of the pink, if that makes sense. Clear as mud, right? Then I grab a much darker purple and decide I will retry the reverse technique. So basically paint down a thin layer, do not wait until your paint dries. While it is still wet, take your stencil, place it on top, take your baby wipe and rub through the stencil, and you're actually rubbing away the paint that's exposed in the holes, and what's left is the paint under the stencil. So this is a different way to get a different look out of your stencils. Clear as mud, right? And it's a bit hard to explain. And the lacier the stencil, or the more holy the stencil, better it works, because you're leaving less paint underneath the bits of plastic for the stencil. Right? Yeah, it makes sense. So this stencil is really easy to line up, so I can just keep lining it up. So it looks like I've used a large 12-inch continuous stencil, and in fact I've used a little tiny weeny 6x4 stencil. So I love the effect this creates, because if I wanted to actually create this effect, my stencil would have to be cut in a totally different way. So you're getting a second use out of your stencil, so do try this technique, but go for your lacier, more holy stencils. Works a whole lot better. So here I'm just putting my girl back and deciding what I'm doing. These are some botanical flowers, also in our mixed media cardstock. So the white mixed media cardstock is about 380, 400 GSM, and it can be painted, ink, sprayed. You can colour it in all different ways. So I decided my girl needs to be purple. I could have left her white if I wanted to. The shapes are reversible as well, so if you wanted the girl she's almost symmetrical, but she has a bit of a look to her. So if you did want to reverse her, you could. You just flip her over and paint the backside. Paint her backside. Whoops. Paint the reverse side of her. Oh, fun voiceover today. So while the botanicals are still connected to the frame, they're just a bit easier to pull out of the machine that way. I am making those purple as well. So what I'll do is I'll list all the products in the description box below that I've used on the page. If I can put links, I will, to the products on my website. If not, I'll just link the type out the names of the particular products we've used on this page, and then you can find them that way. So the botanicals are really easy to separate, and we usually put our connecting lines on straight lines or easy to snip places. So just, I must have missed a bit, so I was just adding a bit more paint. So just playing around with sort of flowers to fill in a bit of the foreground. So my person is sort of in my middle ground, the wrapping paper is sort of the background, and the frame and the flowers are sort of the foreground. So that's sort of how I structure my art journal pages, and it gives them a bit of depth as well. A lot of thinking on this one, thinking of what step comes next, thinking of where I want to go or what I want to do, because sometimes I get to this stage and go, now what? I don't know what I want to do. So I decided that pink is a bit pink, so the pink is a bit pink, so I decided to add purple instead. But again, I don't cover up the entire lot of the pink, so a little bit of the pink is showing as well as the purple. So it helps to tie in with the border around the edge. I often keep placing my focal images on my page without gluing them down, just to see how they'll look, take them off, add some more to the background, and repeat again. But time to stick it down. So using a Pritt gel glue, this one's really old. I found it in my stash from my shop days. I've been out of my shop, yeah, many years. And it was still good. I was surprised. It was sealed in the packet, and I thought, oh, I'll just open it and see if it's any good. If it's not, I'll throw it out and move on. Trying to deep dive my stash and use up a lot of adhesives and things that are hanging around, just because those sort of things do dry out if they are not sealed properly. And to my surprise, it actually works. This was the best glue. I used to love this glue, but unfortunately I don't think this company is in business anymore. I do have a few more glues I like, but this one's more of a gel, so it's not as runny as the one I use at the moment, which is really cool. And it dries clear, so if you get it in the wrong spot, it's not a big deal. Obviously having issues gluing that particular flower down. So when I've got thin things like the flowers, I just pick where the largest piece of paper is and put blobs of glue there. You don't have to get glue on every little bit to glue it down. So while I'm drying all of that off and making sure the paint is completely dry before I move on to the next step, and the next step is I grab out a white paint pen and I decided to trace around all of my stenciling around my border. I do cut a lot of this out because it is very repetitive, and unfortunately my head does get in the way. So all you saw for a lot of it was my head, so I decided to cut a lot of that footage out. So basically I'm just tracing around the dark portion of the stencil and doing that right around the book. That helps to define the shapes. Yes, I could have put the stencil back on. Lining it up is a bit of a pain for me, just because I have low vision, and I just find it so much easier just to sit there and draw. So I've done all around the edge, magic of television. I love doodling and drawing on my pages. It's very calming for my brain. Now I decide that the big blob of pinky purple behind the person needs something, so I decide to grab the same stencil and draw around the shapes. And it's the same stencil, but it looks like a totally different stencil by the time I'm finished with it. There are some still pictures at the end, or some photographs at the end. I apologise, there's my big head getting in the way. But unfortunately when I'm doing stuff like this and lining stuff up, unfortunately because of my low vision, I do need to be quite close to my book, and my head gets in the way of the camera. So I was sort of wanting to only put something subtle behind her, but I ended up fiddling, and I do like the result. Looks like she's at the end, it looks like she's bursting through something. I don't know. I could sit and doodle and draw all day. There I've drawn around it in slightly black. Then I grabbed some word quotes and just put some word quotes on. I don't know, these are unbranded word quotes. So I've got, whatever you are, be a good one. When you love what you have everything. When you love what you have everything to you. Okay. Dare to be powerful, own your story. So they're the 4 little black quotes that I've put on the art journal just to add some wording. And what I tend to do is, even though the paper stickers are sticky, I will add some more adhesive because they're going over paint, they're going over matte gel medium, and they're going over all sorts of stuff. So here's the end picture. I ended up colouring in the pattern behind the girl and then outlining it in white, and you can see that in those still pictures. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.